And welcome back to the UIS. The end of 2025. And we got things to talk about. Charlie does too. Before we get started, Charlie and I want to be crystal clear about something. This video is meant for commentary, education, and entertainment only. The individuals discussed here are real people, and viewers should not attempt to contact, confront, or harass anyone mentioned here. Please don't take anything in this video as a call to action. Please respect boundaries, watch responsibly, and keep discussions respectful. For the channel, I'd say it was a good year. Our years-long persecution finally ended. Even though the UIS was never much of a political channel, I was grouped in with those banned, shadow banned, or demonetized. Thanks to certain things behind the scenes, all that came to an end. Now, it's up to us as to where we go from here. I don't have all the answers, but I'm glad you're all here with me. I'm glad you supported me over the years, and I hope you will continue and join me on this journey of things to come. 2025 was a strange year. A year of endings, a year of change. Sometimes permanent change. For years, LOLcow were just internet jokes. Disposable, endless, easy to laugh at. But this year something changed. The meltdowns didn't feel as funny anymore. The declines didn't feel ironic, and maybe for the first time, the consequences became impossible to ignore. This isn't just a year in review. It's the moment LOLcow culture crossed the line. It can't uncross. LOLcows used to be simple. For many years, the internet has treated LOLcows as disposable entertainment. Background noise made up of self-destruction, unwarranted ego, and endless repetition. But this year felt different. It wasn't louder, not more shocking, just heavier. This wasn't the year of explosive meltdowns or sudden viral moments. This was the year of consequences. What we witnessed wasn't just the continued decline of familiar figures, it was the slow realization that LOLcow culture itself had entered a new phase. One defined less by comedy and more by sheer exhaustion, discomfort, and in some cases, tragedy. LOLcows used to be simple. A person behaved badly online, we noticed. Clips were made. The cow doubled down. We laughed. The cycle repeated. That works when the stakes are low. When these are just embarrassing moments frozen in time. But over the years, those moments have stacked up. A lot of patterns have formed. Eventually, outcomes have become predictable. This year made it impossible to ignore that many LOLcows just don't spiral suddenly. They slowly decay. In public, while thousands of people watch and comment in real time. One of the biggest changes this year was how what we'll call legacy LOLcows were perceived. These figures who once dominated discussion but no longer shock anyone. Their behavior didn't escalate, it just repeated. The same arguments, the same justification, the same refusal to self-reflect. Instead of outrage, the response became indifference. This is an important shift. Indifference is more dangerous than mockery. At least mockery tends to still feed engagement. Indifference signals that the audience has learned the script and is no longer entertained by it. Some lolcows now exist in sort of a strange limbo, too notorious to be ignored completely, too predictable to be compelling. They stream, they post, they complain, and the internet shrugs. This year proved that not all lolcows end in spectacular collapse. Some simply fade into irrelevance while still broadcasting their downfall. Another uncomfortable truth became impossible to avoid this year. The audience being part of the machine. Lolcow communities don't just observe behavior. They catalog it, archive it, remix it, and weaponize it. What starts as community often turns into surveillance. Every post, every stream, every mistake becomes evidence in a never-ending case file. For a long time, this was just brushed off as accountability or documenting patterns. But this year forced a harder question. At what point does observation become participation? Especially when the subject shows clear signs of mental instability, isolation, or declining health. The line between commentary and exploitation gets thin real fast. And when real-world consequences enter the picture, that line disappears entirely. This year also exposed a growing divide within lolcow audiences themselves. Some viewers still want the old formula: point, laugh, and move on. Others are clearly uncomfortable with where things have gone. Deaths, legal trouble, psychological deterioration. These aren't punchlines, and pretending they are feels increasingly hollow. For the first time, many longtime observers began openly questioning, why are they still watching? What are they contributing to? Whether the entertainment value justifies the outcome. That internal conflict defines this era of lolcow culture more than any single personality. Not all lolcows started as punchlines. Some began as respected creators, innovators, internet legends, people who shaped online culture, then lost the trust of the audience that built them. This year showed that fall from grace lolcows often hit harder than legacy ones. But why? Because the audience remembers who they used to be. When someone known for integrity, creativity, or authenticity abandons those traits or openly attacks the values that made them popular, the backlash isn't just mockery, it's betrayal. And betrayal creates a uniquely vicious response. These aren't people being laughed at. These are people being judged, harshly, by former supporters. This year included moments that permanently altered how lolcow culture is discussed. When someone dies, the jokes don't just stop. They echo backward. Every clip, every insult, every meme gets re-examined through a different lens. Suddenly, the question isn't, was this funny? It's, did this matter? And for many people watching, the answer was uncomfortable. Deaths forced a reckoning with the limits of irony, with the permanence of digital harassment, with the reality that online personas are still human beings. Lolcow culture didn't end this year, but I think its innocence did. Where is this video going? This year in review isn't about ranking lolcows or crowning winners. It's about tracking trajectories. Who stagnated? Who escalated? who collapsed, who crossed a line they can't come back from. In the next sections, we'll break down each major figure individually, not just by what they did, but by how the audience reacted, how the community evolved around them, and why this year mattered more than previous ones. Because once patterns become clear, the story stops being funny and starts being very revealing. DarkSydePhil didn't implode this year, but he also didn't simply exist. Instead, this was his year of manufactured relevance. For brief moments, external validation by the Kino Casino and Asmongold convinced Phil that he had finally escaped LOLcow status, only for reality to snap back harder each and every time. These weren't organic redemption arcs, they were borrowed credibility arcs, and every one of them ended the exact same way.
We are tremendous, so pleased to be in the court
We're
of
not
King
worthy.
DarkSydePhil. None of us are worthy of the honor to touch the hem of your garment here in the castle of Kino, the DarkSydePhil React channel. So many glorious reacts that you've done here over the years, so many iconic internet moments on this channel alone, let alone all the other incredible channels in the Phil universe. We are so grateful and so honored to be a part, preserved for all time here on the DarkSydePhil React channel.
One of the most significant developments this year was Phil's collaboration with the Kino Casino. For a time, this partnership gave Phil something he'd been chasing for years: the illusion of respect.
Like you said, who would have thought this ever would have happened? Because until like early August, I was like the whipping boy of the internet. No one cared about what I thought. No one wanted to hear my opinion on anything. And now it's like people actually would like to see me have a conversation with Josh and talk about the whole Kiwi Farms thing. So it's like things are changing so quickly. I appear on Kino Casino and it's like night and day. Everyone likes me now. Everyone wants to hang out with me. Everyone wants to talk, see new content from me. It feels very different.
Through Kino Casino, Phil was treated less like a punchline and more like a misunderstood veteran creator. This inflated his ego dramatically. He began speaking and behaving as though he had been reborn, not as a LOLcow, but as a misunderstood internet pioneer and gaming trailblazer. And this wasn't subtle. Phil openly suggested that public perception had shifted in his favor, that his critics were losing, that history was being rewritten. But that illusion only existed as long as the collaboration did. When the relationship collapsed, as all DSP alliances do, the fallout was immediate. Phil didn't emerge humbled. He emerged angrier, poorer, and feeling more entitled.
He's a bum.
Dude, do you know
He's
how hard?
an ungrateful beggar bum.
Do you know how hard it was for me to hold it in? Every time he's in chat, hey, and I thought we were being obvious. Eh?
Yeah.
I thought we were being like as obvious as possible.
No, I mean we were like literally trying to get rid of him.
Fuck.
It's like when you like throw it. What's that scene where they throw the rocks at the dog at Old Yeller to make him go away?
Yes.
It's outright insulting him to his face. Oh, he just couldn't get the memo. He just couldn't get the message.
And there's a big
that we
story
didn't want
behind
anything to do with this boring fucking ass. But it was beyond how boring he was, how worthless he was.
Beyond that.
The lack of content, the lack of gratitude, how draining he was, how negative it was. Gay for Andy Worski.
He kept
This
asking
guy
to
was
see my body.
He kept begging to look and touch Worski's underwear.
After the Kino Casino fallout, Phil returned to the same behaviors he always defaults to under pressure: aggressive donation pushing, emotional manipulation, guilt-driven fundraising. What made this arc particularly ugly was the increasing documentation showing that many of Phil's most consistent donors are disabled and living on fixed incomes. Rather than discouraging this, Phil leans into it. He has goal deadlines, financial panic narratives, thinly veiled threats about the content stopping. This wasn't survival, it was extraction. And unlike earlier years, the audience wasn't shocked by it, they were disgusted. Another brief resurgence came when Asmongold interviewed DSP.
We have a very important guest.
Asmongold, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you? I've seen your videos on and off for the last 10 years, and now I'm talking to you. That's odd.
The effect was immediate. His viewership spiked, his donations surged, and the attention returned. For a moment, Phil was back in the spotlight, and true to form, he learned nothing. Rather than stabilizing or addressing long-standing issues, Phil's ego inflated almost overnight. He framed the interview as validation, proof that he mattered again. The money didn't go toward security, planning, or self-improvement. No, it went toward impulse purchases, toys, bought live on stream. Cash burned through as fast as it arrived. The arc didn't end in growth. It ended in confirmation of every criticism ever made about him.
The narrative, the hilarious narrative, is that DSP is a broke bum and begs all day. If you have an issue with me, come talk to me about it in person like a man. Publicly, I'm saying it to you right now, you're a bitch.
So he wasn't happy about the video, I guess.
Unless we get 50 subs by the end of tonight, don't ever ask anything of me ever again. Just sits here whining, bitching, complaining about things, wanting more, and doesn't support. So you get nothing. Phil was really mean to his audience. He said that they gave him no support and he was going to give them nothing from now on, which isn't what happened.
The out-of-context clip was making people think that you were begging for money, but the in-context clip is that you were only begging people on Kick for money.
Tell me that I'm a beggar and I'm a scammer. Prove it. Unless we get 50 subs, you got an hour left. Get to it. A lot of whiny people, demanding people who don't reciprocate.
The most telling arc of the year came when Awaken Realms, a game developer, sent Phil a collector's figurine and a copy of their game, Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. For Phil, this was another badge of legitimacy, proof that the industry still valued him. But the community disagreed. The backlash wasn't aimed at Phil, though. It was aimed at the developer. Players and fans questioned why a company would associate with a creator whose reputation was built on racism, manipulation, grifting, hostility, and exploitation. Awaken Realms responded by publicly apologizing and stating they would rethink their vetting process to avoid supporting creators like DSP in the future. This moment mattered because it wasn't Phil being mocked, it was Phil being rejected, professionally, publicly, and permanently. These arcs were not isolated incidents. They formed a clear pattern. External validation appears, Phil interprets it as redemption, his ego inflates, money flows briefly, behavior worsens, support collapses. Phil blames everyone else. This year didn't prove Phil was changing. It proved he can't. No amount of clout, money, or industry acknowledgement alters the cycle. It only accelerates it. Despite new villains, new arcs, and new moments of attention, Phil ended the year exactly where he started. Financially unstable, socially isolated, publicly distrust. The difference is now, the broader internet, including creators and companies, know better. DSP didn't stagnate because nothing happened. He stagnated because nothing that happened mattered. If DarkSydePhil represents stagnation through denial, Wings of Redemption represents stagnation through self-sabotage. Wings has spent years flip-flopping between two personas. The man who claims he wants to improve, the man who immediately destroys any chance of doing so. This year was a masterclass in that contradiction. Every attempt at sympathy was followed by hostility. Every chance at goodwill was undercut by defensiveness. Every possible redemption arc collapsed under the weight of his own character. What stood out most this year wasn't Wings' critics. It was how frequently he alienated people who were still trying to support him. His moderators, donors, neutral observers. Anyone who questioned him, even gently, became an enemy. This pattern reinforced the central tragedy of Wings' online existence. He doesn't just burn bridges, he detonates them. And unlike earlier years, there was no large audience left to react with outrage or disappointment. Many simply left.
Dog, it's prime time and I'm struggling to pull 140 viewers. I'm probably about to shut this stream off, dog. It's like, I've been going an hour and like we got 125 viewers at 8 o'clock p.m. on a Sunday.
At one point, Wings thrived on controversy. Arguments drove views. Conflict kept him relevant. This year, the arguments slowed down. Not because he changed, but because fewer people felt it was worth engaging. Criticism turned into apathy. Commentary channels moved on. Clips circulated less frequently. Wings wasn't redeemed. He was deprioritized. And for someone who built their identity around being talked about, that silence cuts deeper than ridicule ever could. Despite their differences, Phil and Wings ended this year in the same place. Limbo. They didn't evolve. They didn't collapse. They didn't escape. They simply continued. This highlights a brutal truth about LOLcow culture. Not every story ends with a bang. Some end with the audience quietly closing the tab. Legacy LOLcows survive not because they adapt, but because a small, shrinking audience keeps the lights on just enough to prevent an ending. And that might be the cruelest outcome of them all. Phil and Wings represent what happens when internet notoriety outlive relevance. They are warnings, not of sudden downfall, but of permanent limbo, trapped between notoriety and obscurity, unable to move forward, but unwilling to log off. This year didn't change their trajectory, it just confirmed it. If legacy LOLcows represent stagnation, Cyraxx, also known as Chance Wilkins, represents something far more unsettling: escalation. Cyraxx didn't plateau this year. He didn't quietly repeat old behavior in the background. No. He intensified. And the universe surrounding him intensified along with him. What once lived in the realm of absurd internet spectacle crossed into something harder to laugh at. And for many people watching, this was the year when Cyraxx stopped being content and started feeling like a problem with no clear containment. Early attention around Cyraxx was rooted in shock value. His behavior was chaotic, unpredictable, and detached from social norms in a way that produced clips people shared out of disbelief rather than malice.
Hold on, y'all. going on? Oh, God. I'm trying to read up all over the place. What is up, what is up, what is up, everybody? You know, 2024 was a rough year for a lot of us, including myself. Started out good, had a lot of rough patches along the way, and then I ended that shit in the best way ever by being with the woman that I love and our kid, who I love to the moon and back, who I'd fight for and die for without question.
But over time, and especially this year, those moments stopped feeling isolated. Patterns have emerged. Heightened paranoia, escalating confrontations, increasing hostility toward perceived enemies, total rejection of accountability. The behavior wasn't just strange anymore. It was volatile, and volatility changes how people watch.
Wow. We're gonna handle this situation. We're gonna handle this. Now, I didn't want to have to do it like this, William, but you have no rights to my music. And you want to know how you have no rights to my music? Because your boy is now the official owner of the record label, independent record label, I should say, of Rapture Records.
Unlike many Lolcows, Cyraxx didn't exist in isolation. An entire ecosystem formed around him, one built on constant reaction, counter-reaction, and escalation. Central figures emerged who weren't just observers, but active participants in the ongoing saga. Among them was Nicholas Beegler, better known as MusicBizMarty.
Elvis, I got some bad news, buddy.
What's up?
Cyraxx says you gotta go.
What's that?
Cyraxx says you gotta go.
Oh, are you a YouTube fan?
I work for Cyraxx. I'm his friend and his manager, and he doesn't think you should be here anymore.
Okay. You know I'm live on a live stream right now.
That's okay. Orders are orders.
Okay. Well, I'm streaming, so do you want to say hi to the camera?
I'd like you to apologize to Cyraxx.
I don't know who Cyraxx is, okay? So, at this point, I'm going to put the camera on you because you're harassing me.
Harassing you?
So, I'm going to ask you to leave right now, right, sir?
I don't appreciate how you're talking.
I'm going to ask you to leave my presence, okay? Because I don't know who you are and you're harassing me. That's first of all. That's what I'm telling you. So, I'm going to terminate this conversation with you. I'm going to go on my way. I don't appreciate your negativity, all right? This is a place of worship.
Neither does Cyraxx, which is essentially my point. If you could stop bad-mouthing him.
I don't talk about him, all right?
Keep it that way.
I don't talk about him.
Keep it
He has nothing to do with my channel, but at this point you're harassing me, so okay. I'm going to terminate this conversation with you. I'm going to go my way and you go your way, okay?
Okay.
All right, you have a good day, sir.
Be friendly to Cyraxx, or I'll see you around.
Are you threatening me?
No. I'm a big fan of the
I don't talk about Cyraxx.
Okay.
Okay? I don't talk about him. My channel is about van life, RV life.
Gotcha.
All right? Now, you have a good day, sir. Okay? And I'm terminating this conversation. All right.
There I am with MusicBizMarty and Mini Mats is home. You're all jealous now. Mini Mats gets to hang out with MusicBizMarty in my studio here.
Right there! Yeah! Come on by, buddy boy. Come on by, Cyraxx. Come on by.
I told you ain't trying to be here.
Come on. Come over here.
Why? Why will you leave me alone? Why?
Why wouldn't you word?
Love you.
Who's the king?
You are fine. You win. Please let us go. I'm begging you. Please.
Marty wasn't merely commenting from the sidelines. He became deeply intertwined with how Cyraxx was understood, how he was discussed and responded to online. For large portions of the audience, the Cyraxx story was inseparable from the people orbiting him. This transformed the situation from simple observation into something closer to an ongoing confrontation. As Cyraxx's behavior escalated, so did the intensity of documentation. His streams were clipped instantly, statements were archived, contradictions were timestamped and circulated within minutes. Of course, on paper, this looks like standard LOLcow documentation, but the scale and timing seemed to change the dynamic. Cyraxx wasn't reacting to a distant audience. He was responding to an ever-present one. Every outburst was preserved. Every emotional moment was dissected. There was no cooling off period. What might have once faded now has become permanent.
And that mindset is that everything on you is a weapon. Whether it's your keys, necklaces, bracelets, obviously your hands, rings. Everything you have on you can be a weapon in the right circumstance. Including these. And these are not sharp. I know what people are going to say, well, can't you stab somebody with these? No. Guitar jacks are not sharp. They have blunt, rounded ends. As you can see right there, they are blunt. They are not sharp. Now, they will leave an indent. They will leave an imprint on you whenever you do it hard enough. They will leave an indentation. Now, one thing that you can do is you can carry these in your pocket. You can carry these in your pocket. You can get on a plane, do whatever. And, nobody's going to think anything of it. Because who's really going to think about, guitar jacks? That's not a weapon. This dude's obviously traveling. He's obviously a musician. Or maybe you're an electrician. Maybe you're an electrician and you need 2 9mm jacks or something other than an electric guitar. Because when you walk up to somebody and they have 2 9mm jacks in their hand, they're not going to think, oh, that's a weapon. They're going to think, oh, this guy's obviously going to the Guitar Center. You can hold it like this, and nobody's going to think anything of it because when you punch, you're not going like this. You're going like this. You want to punch like that.
One of the most disturbing aspects of Cyraxx's trajectory this year was the lack of any visible stabilizing force. No trusted authority figure he would accept, no consistent moderation capable of de-escalation, no meaningful pauses from the spotlight. Instead, the attention itself actually became the accelerant. Conflict generated engagement. Engagement generated pressure. Pressure generated more conflict. And once that loop locked in, there was no easy exit for Cyraxx or for the people who were entangled in his orbit. This year fractured Cyraxx's audience. Some continued watching out of morbid fascination, waiting for the next incident, the next escalation, or the next meltdown. Others grew deeply uncomfortable. They weren't tuning in for laughs anymore. They were watching with a sense of dread. That matters. When an audience stops asking, what will he do next? And starts asking, how bad is this going to be? The entire premise of entertainment collapses. Cyraxx represents the extreme edge of LOLcow culture. That point where amplification overtakes irony. His story this year wasn't about a punchline or a meltdown. It was about what happens when instability is met with relentless attention, documentation, and escalation from all sides. There was no resolution, no redemption arc, no clean ending. Just a growing sense that the situation had outgrown the framework that created it. We have a grown man living in his grandmother's attic, pretending to go to court, pretending to garner support, pretending to have a girlfriend, fiance, a child, pretending to win something. He never wins. He never will. But when he loses, does that mean the audience wins? Maybe. But what's the prize? Nothing. And that means that we're pretending to win. And that's a step too close in being compared to the likes of Cyraxx.
Hello. All right. Now, Mr. Wilkins, you've submitted a lot of evidence to the courts. I'm going to need you to kind of go through the digital evidence first, and then we'll get into the physical evidence, all right?
All righty, sounds good to me.
These were the items that were submitted for evidence, correct?
Indeed. Wait a second. Why is this burn?
Cyraxx's trajectory this year didn't provide closure. It provided a warning about what happens when internet notoriety replaces boundaries, support, and restraint. And when the line between observing behavior and participating in it disappears entirely. And as later events would make painfully clear, this Cyraxx universe didn't just affect one person. Lolcow culture has always relied on distance. Distance between the audience and the subject. Distance between irony and impact. Distance between online behavior and real-world consequence. This year, that distance collapsed. The deaths of KingCobraJFS and MusicBizMarty didn't just shock the community surrounding them. They forced the wider LOLcow ecosystem to confront something it has spent years avoiding. These weren't characters. These weren't arcs. They were people. And once that reality set in, the culture changed. Josh Saunders, known online as KingCobraJFS, had been a fixture in LOLcow spaces for years. His lifestyle, his habits, and isolation were endlessly documented, debated, and mocked. For a long time, viewers treated his trajectory as inevitable, a slow, self-inflicted decline that would continue indefinitely. Until it didn't.
It hurts to lay down. Been up all night puking and pooping. Oh man, I feel like shit. I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I'm clammy, my stomach hurts. Been up all night puking and using the bathroom. But I will push through this. Oh, it hurts. It hurts to breathe and my stomach hurts.
When Josh died, the reaction wasn't just shock. It was recognition. Recognition that many people had been watching a man destroy himself in real time and calling it entertainment. One of the most striking aspects of Josh's death was the silence that followed. The stream stopped. The clips paused. Communities that thrived on constant commentary suddenly had nothing to say. Not because there was nothing to say, but because saying it felt wrong. Years of jokes, edits, and commentary instantly became archival, frozen, unchangeable. And for many observers, that permanence was unsettling.
Whenever my family and friends would ask me, "How's Josh?" I'd say, "He's Josh. He's just Josh." Because that was the best way to describe Josh. He's just Josh. And the family and friends who knew Josh would always say, "Yep, I get that." I'd like to raise a glass to Josh. A drink combo if you got it. And Josh, When this is over, I'll go pour one out for you, buddy. I'm going to do a toast to you right now, as we all are. Josh, you accomplished something in life that many people never will. You made a difference. You accomplished something that most people want in life but won't achieve. You left your mark on the world, and you're going to be remembered. I wish you could see just how much you were loved and cared about, Josh. But deep down, I honestly think that you knew that most people were rooting for you and not against you, buddy. Josh, I'm so proud to be your dad, and I'm going to miss you more than you can ever know. To Josh, long live Gothic King Cobra. I love you, bud.
MusicBizMarty's death hit differently because his role in LOLcow culture wasn't the same as Josh's. Marty wasn't simply a subject being watched. He was deeply entangled in the Cyraxx saga. For a large segment of that community, he became one of the most recognizable counterfigures in the ongoing story, present, active, and frequently central to how people understood the Cyraxx situation. And when someone like that dies, the community doesn't just lose a person, it loses a piece of the structure it built itself around. All of a sudden, the ongoing saga stops feeling like a saga, and it feels more like real life. Both of the deaths that occurred this year triggered something LOLcow spaces rarely admit: retroactive guilt. People went back through old clips and comments with new eyes. Moments once considered funny now felt cruel. Patterns once dismissed as just internet drama felt like warnings ignored. The question wasn't simply, did they bring this on themselves? It became, did we contribute to an environment where this was treated like entertainment? And there's no clean answer, which is exactly why the question lingered. One of the hardest realizations this year was that LOLcow culture doesn't just observe behavior, it rewards it. Meltdowns generate views. Self-destruction generates clips. Instability generates engagement. The incentive structure doesn't care whether the subject is healthy, safe, or capable of handling the attention. And when real-world endings arrive, the audience is forced to confront the fact that the machine never had an off switch. These deaths marked a boundary. Not an official rule, not a platform policy, but a psychological limit for many viewers. The jokes didn't hit the same afterward. The clips felt heavy. The laughter carried an aftertaste. LOLcow culture didn't die this year, but it lost its plausible deniability. The idea that it's just the internet no longer held up. You know, not every LOLcow begins as a punchline. Some begin as innovators, as voices of authenticity, as people the internet trusted. And when those people fall, the reaction is different. This year, no collapse illustrated that better than the ongoing downfall of Idubbbz and the role played by Anissa Joma in reshaping both his image and his relationship with the audience. This wasn't a meltdown. It wasn't a scandal. It was something slower and far more damaging. At his peak, Idubbbz wasn't just popular. He was respected. He built his reputation on irreverence and a willingness to challenge hypocrisy wherever he saw it. His audience didn't just watch him, they trusted him to say what others wouldn't. That trust mattered. Because when you built your platform on calling out others, your own credibility becomes your most valuable asset. And this year, that asset collapsed. The core issue wasn't that Idubbbz changed. People are allowed to change. The issue was how he changed and how aggressively he attempted to retroactively shame the audience that made him successful. Rather than acknowledging a natural evolution, Idubbbz positioned himself as morally elevated above his past, his peers, and even his own supporters. The tone wasn't reflective. It was corrective. And audiences don't respond well to being told they were wrong for liking the content they were invited to enjoy.
I am responsible for creating a lot of hurtful and damaging content on this channel. And I've also created a culture of apathy and, I don't know, a lot of like cruelty as well. Like, you know, some of the videos I've made have been very, not edgy. I don't think they you know, some of these videos were edgy. I think they were just outright cruel. The content I'm talking about specifically are content cop videos. I was morally grandstanding and acting as if I am any better than any of these people that I was making content cop videos on. It's also indoctrinated a lot of people into thinking that this is an okay way to behave, and it's not.
Anissa Joma became inseparable from this transformation. Whether fairly or not, she was perceived as reinforcing the new moral framework, encouraging public call-outs, supporting confrontation with former allies. To much of the audience, this felt less like growth and more like rebranding through condemnation. Instead of moving forward, Idubbbz appeared to be burning bridges behind him, and Anissa was often seen standing beside him as it happened. That perception hardened into resentment.
Ian and Anissa are destitute. They're living in Anissa's mom's basement, and they're about to file. Any day now, they're going to file for bankruptcy.
And divorce.
And divorce.
At the same time.
It's just the start. Well, at the same time.
Anissa's only married for the money.
For the money. And the money ran dry.
Yeah.
Where are you going to go when you get kicked out of my mom's basement, little boy?
One of the most damaging moments this year was Idubbbz's decision to go after Ethan Klein. This wasn't punching up or down. This wasn't accountability. This was a misread of the room. Ethan, who many expected to be the one damaged by the confrontation, emerged largely unscathed, calm, consistent, supported. Idubbbz, meanwhile, looked defensive, bitter, and increasingly isolated. The contrast, brutal. And in internet culture, perception is everything. This wasn't a sudden backlash, it was erosion. Views declined, comment sections shifted tone, supporters stopped defending him. And perhaps most tellingly, former fans didn't just leave, they mocked. And that's the moment when a fallen creator crosses into LOLcow territory, not when they're hated, but when they're no longer respected. This year, Idubbbz lost respect.
How's Snarkbrain working out for you, Idubbbz?
Or tier 2 sub.
Let's take a look at your recent
That counts for
streaming
more
stats, huh?
Than just the standard.
It's not looking good. In fact, December 1st was your last live. You had an average of this is his average, right? 127.
Yes.
127. The almighty Idubbbz is streaming to 127 people, begging, literally, and I'm not saying this being facetious or exaggerating. He's literally begging for people
I know we always forget to cancel,
To sub.
renew,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff.
On this camping trip is where Ian tells me, hey, I'm doing another content cop. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And he goes, yeah, it's on Ethan. And I was like, Ethan Klein? And he said, yeah, it's on Ethan Klein. And I thought, oh no, why would you do that? I'm thinking, oh my God, dude, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to cause trouble? Because now I'm thinking, this is gonna ruin Creator Clash 3 and I'm gonna get screwed again.
Just when he thought Anisa's husband, aka Idubbbz, aka Ian Jomha, couldn't dig himself into a deeper hole, he decides to not just backstab one of his biggest supporters, Ethan Klein, but totally destroy whatever hope he had of Creator Clash 3 succeeding.
Wakey, wakey, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Wake up. Time to be awake, Ethan.
Wake up, Ethan.
This is no longer a dream. This is a nightmare.
Ian's content comp on Ethan released April 16th. To Ian's credit, in the introduction, he was assuming his former role of Jester by opening it up with an impactful yet whimsical skit.
I've been lying about everything, including my glasses. They're fake. He was right about that. That's not even in the content nuke, and he was right about that too. How did he know everything? How? Wake up, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Ethan, wake up.
Wakey, wakey, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Wake up. Time to be awake, Ethan.
Wake up, Ethan.
This is no longer a dream. This is a nightmare. Wake up.
Even Ethan could not deny the intro's entertainment value.
This is actually pretty entertaining. I'm not even tripping. This is kind of fun to watch.
The video then turns into an enormous mound of nothing.
The most fatal mistake wasn't the shift in values. It was assuming authority over the audience. LOLcow culture thrives on hypocrisy, and the internet is merciless toward creators who condemn behavior they once profited from, when they attack people who didn't betray them, when they try to rewrite history without acknowledging their own role in it, by positioning himself as morally superior without taking accountability for his own past. Idubbbz invited the very scrutiny he once wielded against others, and he didn't survive it. By the end of the year, something had fundamentally changed. Idubbbz was no longer the one analyzing internet culture. He was the case study. Clips circulated not to celebrate his work, but to document his decline. Discussions weren't about his ideas. They were about his contradictions. That is the precise moment when someone becomes LOLcow adjacent. Not because they're stupid, not because they're evil, but because they lost the trust that insulated them from ridicule. This wasn't just another internet drama. It was a warning about what happens when creators confuse personal growth with moral authority and mistake an audience's loyalty for an obligation to comply. The internet forgives evolution. It does not forgive condescension. And once that line is crossed, the fall is long, public, and very difficult to reverse. Every LOLcow story needs a contrast. Someone who walked through the same fire, faced the same scrutiny, and came out intact. This year, that figure was Ethan Klein. And it's important to be clear. My opinion is that Ethan Klein is not a LOLcow, but he is deeply connected to one of the most significant LOLcow collapses of the year. And the way he handled it explains exactly why he stayed upright while Idubbbz fell. Ethan existed in the same cultural space as Idubbbz. They shared overlapping audiences, similar eras of influence, parallel histories, and internet commentary. On paper, Ethan should have been just as vulnerable. Instead, he became the comparison point that exposed the weakness in Idubbbz's position. Not because Ethan was perfect, but because he was consistent. Ethan Klein has made mistakes publicly. Plenty of them. This year highlighted a key difference in approach. Ethan owns his past without trying to morally dominate his audience over it. He doesn't pretend earlier content didn't exist. He doesn't scold viewers for having enjoyed it. And he doesn't rewrite history to elevate himself. Instead, he acknowledges change as personal, not prescriptive. That distinction matters more than most creators realize. When Idubbbz chose to confront Ethan, the expectation among many viewers was that Ethan would be damaged by the exchange. That is not what happened. Ethan didn't escalate. He didn't moralize. He didn't spiral. He responded calmly, maintained his position, and systematically destroyed Idubbbz with each and every response. In internet culture, that restraint reads as strength. And when the dust settled, Ethan didn't look attacked. He looked vindicated. Lolcows become Lolcows when they lose control of the narrative. Ethan never did. He didn't obsess over critics. He didn't frame disagreement as persecution. He didn't demand loyalty. Most importantly, he didn't try to force the audience to see him as superior. He let them decide. And they did. Here we'll talk about the Lolcow ladder. Some people climb down it slowly. Some fall off entirely. Some never step on it. Ethan was pushed toward that ladder this year. He simply didn't grab onto it. While Idubbbz retconned, Ethan maintained. While others moralized, Ethan entertained. While reputations fractured, Ethan stabilized. That's not luck. That's experience. And why does this even matter in a video about a year in review of Lolcows? Ethan Klein's role in this story isn't about praise. It's about the contrast. He demonstrated that you can evolve without condemning your audience. You can survive criticism without feeding into it. You can be adjacent to Lolcow culture without becoming a part of it. In a year defined by collapse, stagnation, and tragedy, Ethan represents the road not taken. Perhaps the most ironic outcome of this year is that by confronting Ethan, Idubbbz unintentionally accelerated his own fall. The comparison was unavoidable. One man stood firm, the other unraveled, and the audience noticed. One of the most uncomfortable truths this year is that Lolcow culture doesn't exist without an audience. And the audience isn't neutral. The views reward behavior. Clips incentivize extremes. Engagement accelerates the decline. This doesn't mean that the viewers are the villains, but it does mean that participation has consequences. And once those consequences become visible, it can't be ignored. This year also clarified something crucial. Not everyone exposed to criticism becomes a LOLcow. The difference isn't perfection, it's restraint. Those who survive scrutiny didn't moralize their audience. They didn't weaponize victimhood. They didn't mistake attention for validation. They disengaged when necessary. They adapted without erasing their past. They let criticism pass instead of feeding it. In LOLcow culture, that's rare. And that's why it matters. LOLcow culture isn't ending. It's changing. There will always be internet spectacle. There will always be people who overshare, self-sabotage, and spiral in public. LOLcow culture isn't disappearing, but it is aging. Audiences are more aware. Communities are more divided. And the consequences are harder to laugh off. The era of carefree mockery is over. What replaces it is still taking shape. But it won't look the same. This year wasn't about who fell the hardest. It was about realizing that nobody falls alone. Every arc documented here was shaped not just by individual choices, but by thousands of eyes watching, reacting, and rewarding behavior in real time. LOLcows don't exist in isolation. They are created at the intersection of vulnerability, ego, and attention. And once that machine starts, it doesn't stop easily. If there's one lesson to take from this year, it's this. The internet remembers everything, but it rarely forgives. And once someone becomes a spectacle, the hardest thing to do isn't climbing back up. It's stepping away before there's nothing left to step away from. Now, as a reminder, the people discussed in this video are real human beings. Please don't contact, harass, or interfere with anyone mentioned here. Let's keep the conversations respectful and keep it on the screen. I hope you all enjoyed this little look back at some of the major events and key players that made 2025 what it was. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by giving it a like and leaving a comment. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Make sure to ring that bell to receive all notifications of when I release a new video or when I go live. I appreciate you all. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season and wish you nothing but the best in 2026. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Goodbye.
TheUIS!